Welcome to the Seton Hall Pirate's Eye podcast, where we hear from alumni across decades and regions about the role Seton Hall has played in their lives. I'm your host, Bianca Velez, class of 2010 alumna, and if you're part of the Seton Hall community, you'll enjoy connecting to these stories of community, learning, and life-changing experiences. My guest today is Luciana Gencarelli, class of 2014 graduate and owner of Zest, a health-focused gluten-free cafe located in Fairfield, New Jersey. Luciana shares with us how she went from envisioning herself running a store when she was just a child, setting up room sales in her home and fake charging her little sister, to now having run a successful brick-and-mortar business for 9 years. And a little hint, Seton Hall has played a key role in the process. Take a listen to Luciana's story. Luciana, welcome to the Seton Hall Pirate's Eye podcast. Excited to get into your story today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I love having entrepreneurs on the show, especially ones that, we consider kind of young entrepreneurs or early in their career still, and who can share with us the, tips and tricks, the journey to success or the challenges, or give us that inside look into what it is to become an entrepreneur. So I really want to dive into your story, and I want to draw a connection first, right? Many of the young entrepreneurs that I talk to, actually any of them, but especially ones that graduated within, the last 10 years or so, 10, 15 years, have mentioned something that is in common, which is the Buccino Leadership Program, and which is now an official institute at Seton Hall, as well as the Pirate Pitch Program. And I know that rings true for your story as well.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we wouldn't even be talking about any of this had you not chosen to go to Seton Hall. So let's start there.
Yes.
I know you came in as a finance major, but I also know that you shared with me that you kind of turned away what sounded like a full ride at another college. Yeah. And you chose Seton Hall instead. Finance major, turning away a full ride. Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Yeah. So when I applied to schools in high school, I knew I wanted to stay local, and I live in Essex County, New Jersey. So, local schools to me, I applied to about 5 schools around me, and I got into Ramapo, full ride, room and board, everything. Even though I knew I wanted to commute, it was still an option in my head. Okay, maybe I could do this, and I could still commute, but still have a place to stay. One of my good friends went there, so I visited her. And I liked it, but I don't know, I just didn't get a feeling that I was going to go there. So when I was, looking into where I was going to go, also when I was applying to schools, things weren't as, competitive and crazy as they are now, or, people go on trips for weeks to go visit colleges. So, and also I'm the first child of my parents. So it was new for us. So
right.
I said, Seton Hall was one of my options. And I remember one day I was in the car with my parents, and we just drove past Seton Hall, and they were like, okay, that's Seton Hall. And I'm like, okay, we visited Seton Hall. And I was like, okay, I'll apply here. So I applied to Seton Hall, and I knew it was an amazing business school. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something in business. Okay. And I felt like finance was always a safe option to apply for. So I applied, and I got in, and that's when I went to the open house and met a bunch of professors and students and alumni. And I really loved it because it was a small community and everyone seemed very personable. And I also applied for the leadership program. And back then it was just a business leadership program. And I got into that. And when I got into that, Mike Reuter, the director at the time, called me on the phone. I remember I was in my kitchen, and he was the sweetest man ever. And I knew from that phone call I was going to Seton Hall. I didn't care, sorry to my parents. I didn't care for Ramapo. Yeah. I just knew this was the place that was going to give me, the best education, and also just give me what I needed, which was, personable professors and directors and things like that. And I fell in love from that phone call. So I went to Seton Hall.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And it's not something that is totally unique to your story, right? I speak to so many alumni, and oftentimes my question is like, why Seton Hall? What's your journey to Seton Hall?
Yeah.
And I'm an alum. I have my own journey to Seton Hall. And so many of the stories that I hear talk about this feeling. They talk about the feeling of community. They talk about the feeling of personal relationships or connections, the feeling that the administration and the staff are truly invested in each individual. So I love to hear that from your story as well. And so speaking a little bit about coming into Seton Hall, so you knew you wanted to be in the School of Business. Did you necessarily know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, that you wanted to have your own business?
So I did not. I feel like it was always a part of me, like inside of me, that I loved the idea of owning my own business. But at the time, I, felt very scared by that idea, intimidated. And I was just like, people don't do this until they're older. They have careers and then they restart. And, I graduated, like in 2013, not that long ago, but from then to now, entrepreneurship has changed so much. There's a whole department, there's a whole major, So it wasn't like something that was shining out on me that I could do this from the start. So I decided to major in finance because I thought, like every business needs to know finance. And then I remember I was a freshman, and one of my courses that was required was an information technology course. And I've always loved technology, loved computers, loved everything about it. I remember going home, I think it was a night class, and I literally just went home and did my homework. I was so excited. I loved it. And the next day I told my Professor Rosenthal, I'll never forget, I was like, I am going to double major in IT. I love it. So that was just another thought in my head. When I was younger, I always had this entrepreneur spirit in me. So my sister is 3 years younger than me. I remember my mom telling me this story. I was 5 or 6 years old, and she would be cooking dinner. My dad would be at work, and I would go into my room and tell my sister, come in my room, I'm having a room sale. And just make her pay me change from her piggy bank for anything in my room. She knew no better.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. When I was in summer camp, when I was younger, I would always make string bracelets and sell them. I always had this entrepreneur spirit about me, and everyone around that knew that. So when I was a freshman, I applied for the, I don't even know if I applied. I think back then it's called the Buccino Scholarship. So Dr. Buccino is, the name on the leadership program right now. He interviewed 5 or 6 of us out of, 10 or 12 of us in the leadership program. And what we were applying for was a scholarship from him for all 4 years, but also more importantly, a mentorship.
Okay.
And at the time, I thought it was amazing, he was going to mentor me throughout my 4 years of college. And of course, on top of that, get a scholarship. I wanted it so bad. And I remember the day I interviewed on campus, it was a snowstorm and all the classes were canceled, and they didn't cancel our interviews because they were just this is a big deal, it's
year, so. We're not rescheduling.
Yeah. And it was this crazy day. And I remember going out of the interview, and, my peers were all so well educated, well spoken, we all had great goals in life. And it was really, we all were great candidates. But Dr. Buccino chose me as the recipient of the scholarship that year. And I was just absolutely thrilled. I was so excited. So the following week or something, we went out to dinner with all of the past recipients of the scholarship. And it was just amazing, seeing all the alumni from the scholarship get together every single year. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Buccino mentored me throughout my 4 years. And I think it was sophomore or junior year when I was applying for internships. I always worked throughout high school, college, always had like a million jobs, like worked at a chiropractor, a kid's birthday place, like changed in my car, babysat, you know. And then I was like, all right, it's time to get into the real world. This hustle's great, but I think I need to like start thinking about what I want to do.
Right.
So every internship I had, you know, I liked part of it, but I was like, I don't love it. And Dr. Busino always told me, it's okay. You are learning what you don't want to do. And at the time, you know, it felt a little intimidating. I'm like, but I don't want to do any of these.
Right. Is it ever going to become clear?
Yeah. That's what my fear was, you know, like, is it just going to come out at me one day? Like how I loved Seton Hall. Like this was it. Like, is my career path going to come out at me? My one internship I loved was coding. So it was like more IT based. I loved it. But I was just like, I don't know if I can picture myself doing this forever, you know? And so I tried out different things. I got an internship at Morgan Stanley. And I just felt like everyone around me was, you know, big four accounting firms or like finance companies, you know, things like those were their goals. And I remember just telling Dr. Busino, like, that is not my goal. And he's like, it's not a bad thing. And one day I told him, I think I want to open a restaurant one day. And I was like so scared to tell him that. And I was like, who am I to say I want to open a restaurant when this man is literally mentoring me to be this business, big business person. And he was like, I think that's amazing. And I was like, okay, like breath of fresh air.
Right.
Yeah. And like, you know, in the beginning too, even my parents, you know, like, why are you going to school if you want to open a restaurant? And I feel like my dad was very much so like, he knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And he was like, you know what, if you want to do it, like try it. And Dr. Busino was encouraging me. And I think I was just, I had a little bit of fear still left in me. And I was just, all right, let me try just getting a full-time job first.
Okay.
So
yeah, that was going to be my next question is like, did you just graduate and jump into entrepreneurship? Like that's a big jump. Yeah. That's jumping into the deep end without knowing how deep it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I graduated a semester early and my first job, was more marketing based. And I thought this would be great. You know, more people, you know, like more interaction. Maybe I'll like it more than just like sitting at my desk. And I would love it for like the first 2 hours of the day. And then I'm like, what am I doing for the rest of the 6 hours? Like, I can't like find enough things to keep me busy or like, it's not really my passion.
Right.
So I quit my job and I was like, you know what? I'm still a semester ahead. It's okay. And my parents were like, you're crazy. I'm like, I'll be fine, you know? So that summer we were going to Italy and I remember I had like a notebook and I was just planning out that I wanted to open my own cafe. And I started ordering a bunch of, you know, things to my house while we were in a different country. And people would be calling my dad and be like, there's huge boxes outside your house. And he's like, we literally couldn't wait until we got home. I was like, no, like I'm
building. We're building.
Yeah. So I started Zest out of a commercial kitchen. I knew from the start I wanted to experience having like some sort of overhead and just do it, you know, like legitimately from the start. Was baking just gluten and dairy free baked goods and selling to random people, you know, I would just go to random cafes, try to wholesale them, street fairs. Like my first street fair I did, I was up all night. I didn't even make like the amount I wanted to make, but I also like didn't sell even half of it. So I had no idea what I was doing. I connected with a nutritionist, started doing meal prep for people. I was just dabbling in all different ways. But like I kind of still needed, you know, like money. So I was like, I'm not ready to open this full time yet. So I was always doing it on the side. And then I got another job for a corporate catering company. And I got this job through a Seton Hall alumni, which Mike connected me to. So it was amazing. It always comes back to Seton Hall. You know, like every time I had a thought, I would email Mike or Dr. Busino, you know, like, do you know someone in this field? Or look at my past contacts or meeting people. And I absolutely loved it. I really did. But I remember one day I was on site at a building and I was literally filling forks and knives. And I was like, why am I doing this? when my dream is to do this for myself.
Mm.
So I think of that moment so often, literally at least once a week in my own cafe. Like if an employee forgets to like fill the napkins or fill the forks and knives or, like fill the waters, I'm like, okay, I'm doing this, but I'm doing it for myself. And like, look how far I've come.
What a full
So
circle moment.
yeah, it was crazy. And then I had one more job that year. I worked for a brand management company for food. And again, this was an amazing, amazing job. I took over a maternity leave. Everyone at this company literally was there for like years and years and years, which you don't find often. And I learned so, so much. But again, I wasn't feeling fulfilled and I was still trying to build Zest. And I had my own office there. And one day I walked into my office and my monitor was gone. And I was like, this is weird. Like, why is my monitor gone? And I remember the head of IT came in and was like, oh yeah, like I took your monitor because you seem to never use it. You only use your laptop. And I was like, oh, okay. And the reason being was because a lot of the time I was doing stuff to build Zest and I didn't want anyone knowing. So I felt so badly, but
that is funny.
That company was so nice. They still support me. Even on Facebook now, some of them are commenting on my Zest page, my personal page. They're so proud of me. Some of them like come into Zest, and I felt so badly leaving because they were amazing, amazing people. But I just knew I needed to make the jump to opening Zest. So after that, December 2016, I signed my lease in Fairfield, and March 2017 opened the store.
So there's so many things that you just touched upon that I love that you elevated, right? And it's addressing the fear of entrepreneurship. Like that is real. And for folks that watch entrepreneurs or for folks that are trying to navigate this idea of becoming an entrepreneur, I think that's one of the most important things to lift up, that there is a real fear and that sticks around for quite a little bit and you navigate it. So I love that you touched upon that and that you mentioned that a part of navigating those waters is making sure that you have that support system that you can email and reach out to. So now we fast forward, you launched Zest. You are almost 10 years in. We're so close. It's 9 years and it's time to start planning that 10-year anniversary. Yeah. What has it been? What has that journey been like in terms of launching to now? Do you feel like I figured it out? I am no longer in a space where I'm learning what I don't want to do? Or is this a step one in what still would be many steps in your entrepreneurship?
I feel like that changes, weekly.
That's real.
Yeah. Like I absolutely love it. I really do. But I feel like many entrepreneurs can vouch for the fact that our brains are always spinning, like, what is the next thing that I'm going to do? Where's my next place or what's my next business I'm going to open? And I love Zest. I really, really do. It's just that times are changing, which is, a huge factor. We went through COVID and made it through, smoothly. It was the hardest few months, like doing curbside orders and just like running things in and out. Everyone's scared on their toes, but we made it.
And still at a time that you were still a relatively new business.
We were new. Yeah. And then since then, like the restaurant world has just changed. I feel like, especially for us, we're quick service. So it's just a lot of people order on the apps, which it's just, thousands and thousands of dollars like cut off of our pocket, but also we wouldn't have these customers without it. So it goes both ways. Yeah. Social media is a huge, huge factor. And, finding ways to just tap into social media is really helpful. And there are days like today where we had a really great day and I absolutely love it. And, like my employees all showed up and everyone was happy and like it was a busy day and it was great. But then, there's times like it's going to be a huge snowstorm. How many days are we going to be closed? How much product are we going to lose? How many days of, not working are we going to lose without income for a place like me? So, I mean, it goes back and forth. I definitely think I will always be an entrepreneur and I absolutely love being an entrepreneur. No matter like how many hard days there are, the benefits outweigh it. And like, that's just who I am inside, and I know that. Is Zest forever? I don't know, but I hope so. And like, I don't like, there were times where, I was talking to franchise lawyers. Do we want to open a franchise? This was before COVID. And then that idea kind of went downhill after that. Once I had my kids and, but hey, once they're in school again, like, do we want to make this huge, or do we want to focus on one product and just take that to market? There's so many different ways about it. Yeah. And I just absolutely love the community we created, customers, old employees, just everything about Zest is, a big community as well as a cafe. And I feel like I got that from Seton Hall, like just keeping the community alive and just feeling connected to everyone walking in the doors, and they're like family to us. And for our 10-year, we're having a huge party with, old employees and old customers and new customers. And like, it's just going to be great. And I know that day is just going to be one of the most rewarding days.
Oh my God, I can't imagine. Yeah. And I am so excited for you and the entire team at Zest to reach that milestone, because I know that it does not come easily. And you mentioned something when you brought up the snowstorm, is how many days are you going to be closed? What is that going to mean for you? And I know that Zest is not one of the businesses that closes very often. So you shared with me a little bit of some insight into what that journey of opening and also switching locations has been like, and how you closed for a day, and then even when you got married you weren't really closed. So talk to me about that level of dedication and why you feel it's so important.
Yeah, so like I said, like a big part of Zest is the community. So people just love seeing me and my husband there. So when I first opened, my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, was working for his father, who owned a bakery. So he had like a huge bakery background, obviously, but this is like gluten-free, dairy-free. So it's very different. But anyway, like he would be working the night shift, go home, take a quick nap, and I would be like, come help me at Zest. Like, so I remember, honestly, the first day I opened, I forgot to get gloves. So like me and my one of my good friends now, who's in my wedding, she was my first employee. We were literally making acai bowls without gloves. Like, first of all, like that's gross. And second of all, like our hands were literally purple. So, I mean, my husband, like, obviously, like with the baking, scaled everything, helped me on that end so much. And his dad closed his bakery a few months after I opened. So my husband went to like go get a job somewhere, didn't love it. And I was like, let's just do this together. Like we both love it. You help me anyway. So that was the start of like a huge chapter for us, like as a couple, but also like for Zest. And after our first year, we had some trouble with the landlord, and this was like a huge business learning experience for myself as well. And we had to move, and I was like, what? Like, we're doing so well. It's been a year. Like, this is crazy. So thankfully, a 25 Burgers was closing down the street, and it was literally walking distance. I would not lose any customers. And also the sign was facing the highway. It had its own parking lot. It was literally perfect. The only thing was that we had to buy the entire like business. So we had to spend money on buying a business that we were literally going to destroy and not use at all. Like literally, we don't even use fryers, like nothing. So we had to do that. And it was kind of just like I was starting from square one, and it kind of disappointed me because in 1 year I was already profiting, and that's like crazy. And now I had to start all the way back from the beginning. But I said, this is going to be a good thing for us. And thank God, because we've still been there. So we moved overnight on 4th of July. We spent the whole 4th of July moving. I remember it was pouring rain, and I was like, like literally couldn't get any worse. But, like one of his good friends helped us. I will never forget. And then like, I remember my family and some friends and employees, just helped clean that whole week before. And it was just, so nice. Everyone who pitched in. We closed one day and moved. And then the next day was our busiest day ever. So it was like, this is great. Like, people are so excited. Yeah. And then we got married November of that year. And on our wedding day, I remember we went there on our wedding day to take some pictures with some employees, and my husband in the video is like, closed one day only. And then we were open the next day. And we even showed face because we were like, we can't leave this place, It wasn't until I had my first daughter in 2021 that I wasn't there, like literally, like besides our honeymoon, which we took a few months later, and I planned like and called every single day, every minute. Um, we were there, open to close 7 days a week. I remember with my daughter, um, I had to have a C-section and they were going to schedule it. And we had this huge catering order, like our biggest catering order yet, which was a week before my due date. And I said, it's a Saturday. Like, there's no way they're going to plan my C-section on a Saturday. And I remember them calling and they were like, okay, well, like the doctor's very busy, so he's going to come in on Saturday.
And you're like, no.
I literally said, can he pick a different day? And they're like, no, like, why? And I was so embarrassed. I was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. So I remember like it being in the bed, Ivy and me, like being prepped on my phone. Guys, are you all good? Like, are you all good? Like, this is like the first day I'm not there. They're like, aren't you like giving birth? I'm like, yeah, but I'm fine. So yeah, literally like brings me to tears thinking about how crazy it was. But I mean,
it's such a good story.
Yeah, it's evolved.
And it really does. It's like the answer to the question, right? Which is like,
yeah.
Talk to me about that level of dedication. And you're like, oh, you want to know dedication?
Yeah.
Simultaneously running the business and giving labor.
So yeah, it's all great. But like Zest is a huge part, of my life and my kids' life, of, everyone who's worked here. I still talk to a lot of them. Some of them still help on their college breaks. Some of them, are in their MBA or like in grad school or graduated and they babysit my kids, or like we go to dinner, and it's just so amazing. I truly love it.
I can't imagine. You're only sharing like nuggets of a couple of stories and I am in tears laughing. So I know that those are, it'll be 9 years in, is it March?
Yeah.
9 years in March. And those are 9 years just full of really transformative memories. And something that you spoke to as part of your business's culture is that culture of connection and that culture of community, which rings true for a lot of folks from Seton Hall, and the folks that I talk to is really feeling like they got a hold of a lifelong community and a network of connections that just is priceless. And I know that we've talked a little bit about connections. What kind of a role has that played? You mentioned, a job and an internship and being able to go back to folks while you're in your process of entrepreneurship to get advice and to get wisdom. How else do you feel these connections have played a role? And how would you try to articulate the value that these connections have had?
Seton Hall is just so different, I will say. I mean, 3 things come to mind. The first would be my freshman year, I applied for Pirates Pitch, which is the entrepreneur competition. And I worked with a professor there and pitched an idea. It was called the C-Stick. And it was basically something that doctors or nurses would use. And you can kind of use it like over FaceTime to help diagnose an issue. So like the doctor or nurse wouldn't have to, come to the patient. And I won Pirates Pitch that year. So it was just an amazing way to really encourage me that entrepreneurship was my calling. And working with that professor was priceless. I learned so much. And I remember a few years ago, I think it was like 2023, he retired and he emailed me that he had some files left from the C-Stick and wanted to, give them to me. And he came to Zest, and it was just such a full circle moment. Like what school do you think of that like a professor from so many years, 10 years ago plus would come, to your new business, keep in touch with you, be interested in your life. And then I remember, he had a grandchild a few weeks later. He texted me pictures. Wow. It was just so nice, And he said to me, hey, if you ever, have another idea and, want to pitch it to me, let me know. Like, I'm retired now. And it was just so amazing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Another way is through the Buccino leadership program. I met one of my best friends when I was a senior. I believe she was 2 years younger than me, or 3. And we just became very close. And to this day, we are very close and both are very in touch with Dr. Buccino. That we visited him in Florida last year. And it was just amazing. Like we got to see his home there, him and his wife just spent quality time with him for 2 days with each other. And it was so nice. Like he's really in touch with our lives. He's always there for business advice, but also just, to talk and to chat. And we still both keep in touch with him very often. And I'm actually going to serve on the committee for the next Buccino Scholar in February, which I try to do as often as I can. It's really nice. And then one more is that I have a younger brother. He is a junior at Scranton, and he was looking through LinkedIn. He's very persistent and trying to find, an internship, and he's very great with people and introducing himself. And he found a connection from someone that went to Seton Hall that I was mutual friends with, but I didn't know. So I emailed Mike Reuter and I said, Mike, hey, do you know this person? And, that is just the type of person Mike is. I can literally email him out of the blue and say that because we still keep in touch. And every year on my birthday, he says, happy birthday. He's amazing.
Yeah.
And Mike introduced my brother to someone else at that company. And it's just, Mike doesn't even know my brother, but that's just the type of person he is. So, and that's just the type of connections you get from Seton Hall. And my brother's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. He doesn't get that, or many people don't get that where they are. Seton Hall is just one of a kind in that sense.
Yeah.
So I really, really love it. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. There are a handful of advisors who were so pivotal for my transformation in Seton Hall, my journey as a student, and are still folks that I am in regular communication with all of the time. Like, I know about them, they know about me, I know about their families, I've met their kids, and it's just a beautiful thing, and it's really speaks to that like lifelong connection.
It truly does, yeah.
And so, closing in on that note, you continue to remain an active alumna. And so you've been involved in the university. You just mentioned one of the ways, and you've been involved in other ways. Why? What do you feel like calls you to return back, to be involved in the lives of students? And what would you say is important, like for other alumni that are listening? Why is that valuable? What's important? What do the students and you gain from that?
Yeah, so I serve on the board for the Buccino alumni, and then also I used to serve on the board for the entrepreneurship department. And I actually emailed the director of that a month ago saying, I'm ready to rejoin. Like my kids are getting a little older, even though I have another one on the way. Like I'm really excited to rejoin. One year I got the Young Alumni Award for the entrepreneurship department. So it was a gala that's held every year. And, I was honored and I got to make a speech, and it was just so amazing. And just like being at places like that, like dinners or just being on campus, you just really feel so appreciative of how much Seton Hall has given you that you just want to give back. And I remember, being a student and just hearing these alumni come in, these young alumni, these older alumni, like anyone, and just hearing their stories, it was just so inspiring. Like as a student, those were the days that I would go back to my dorm and be like, I want to, follow my dreams. Like I feel this passion inside of me. Like, look, they can do it. They follow their dreams. Look at their path. It wasn't straight. It was all over the place. And they still got to the place they love to be. Like it doesn't have to be, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I do. That's it. And I loved hearing everyone's stories, how different they were and how much Seton Hall played a part in bringing them to where they are, that I knew that I had to give back. And I just honestly, I love the feeling it gives me to be able to help, even if it's one person in a room of 30, but also just, give back to the university in the sense that how much they gave me and how much I can give other students. And I just also want to make, like Dr. Buccino, Mike, all my other professors, just make them proud and, make them feel like they really made a difference.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love the reciprocal energy that really does make a difference in people's lives. Luciana, this has been such a great conversation. I love the story sharing. I love learning about your journey. I love the things that you uplifted. about the difficulties and the challenges, and yet the rewarding moments that come along with it. So thank you so much for sharing your story with the Seton Hall community. And I wish you all of the success as you get to your 10-year, continued success as you get to your 10-year anniversary of Zest, and every version that comes to be as you evolve as an entrepreneur.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Seton Hall University has advanced academic brilliance for 170 years while fostering profound personal and spiritual growth. You're invited to help cultivate Seton Hall's future by participating in the For All, Forever campaign. Learn how to get involved in Seton Hall's work to prepare leaders now, enrich education, and strengthen university cornerstones by visiting the For All, Forever campaign page in the show notes.